Tradesman, have women ever offered sex on the job, and why did you accept or decline? When I was a teenager, I was canvassing for a double glazing company. A woman opened the door in her dressing gown and kept making jokes about how she wasn't dressed. She asked if I wanted to wait inside while she changed. Confused, I declined and said I could come back later. She then said that it was really hot outside and told me that if I came in, she'd make me some fresh lemonade. I told her that I didn't want to inconvenience her and had work to do. She told me I could come back later if I got bored. When I met my colleagues at the end of the afternoon and told them the story, they explained what was actually going on. Story 2. 19 and worked on my family's farm while in college, mostly irrigation, tractor work, and shearing. One season, the neighboring farm asked if I would be interested in working for them for a day or two. Jumped at the opportunity since the money was really good and I enjoyed the physical workout. I just got into rugby that year, and the farm work helped me. My usual farm attire: jeans, blunnies, singlet, and a long-sleeve flanny. The next few days, it's supposed to be around 35 degrees. I rock up early in the morning, got my gear set up, met the father, his wife, and his daughter Rebecca. Daughter is 2 years older than me. I meet the rest of the crew and we smash it out. First day we get most of it done. Day 2, I get there around 7 a.m. and it's around 19 degrees already. I briefly notice the parents' vehicles aren't in the garage as I make my way down to the shearing sheds. It's almost lunchtime and I'm already hot as hell. Feels like 40. I got sweat happening. I pull up my flanny, wipe my face down and power through the last 10 heads. Done. I take a small break and start carting my gear to my truck. As I'm passing the house with my last few things, I hear Rebecca call my name from the fly screen door. I make my way up and stand outside the screen. I'm blind as heck because I didn't even notice she was naked at the time. She opened the screen door and yanked me in real fast. I remember feeling really disrespectful for entering the house with my boots on. That boat sailed though when she just straight up said, "F me," while laying down on a towel she had placed. 1. Didn't think I had any energy left over. I was wrong. 2. I like to be a little rough. And 3. I'll never forget how nice and cold the tiles felt while we It wasn't my first time, but I'll always remember that one. Pretty sure she has like 3 kids now last time I heard. Story 3. I delivered pizzas for a local mom and pop pizza shop more than 30 years ago. There was one house that would call in orders, and the other drivers would openly argue over whose turn it was to deliver to this address. Being the new guy on the crew, I never got the chance, nor would they tell me what the deal was, so my imagination ran wild. Well, one day the stars aligned and I finally got the opportunity. To my disappointment, it turned out that the deal was that it was an older gentleman who lived alone and offered a $100 tip to watch me jerk off. TLDR, easiest $100 I ever made. Sold an old guy a phone at a store I worked at. He was talking about how he needed help at his house and asked me if I could help him. Me thinking he's an old man that probably needs help moving stuff, I asked what kind of help he needed. He then took a quick look around and said, "I'll give you $100 if you let me play with your a little bit." I declined. He raised his offer. I declined. I did call my GF and let her know to change her attitude, 'cause I got options. And people are willing to pay. Story 4. Not my story, but a buddy of mine who was a self-employed welder. He would do calls mostly to ranches, barns, and other rural and livestock type, usually repairing gates, corrals, and equipment. Anyhow, he showed up one day at a stable for 4-H kids and was going to fix some fencing for the paddock. The lady who ran the stables mentioned her husband was out of town picking up a horse they bought. Long story short, she invited him inside to cool off. This is 102-degree Texas weather, so anyone would naturally take the offer. She gave him a tall glass of tea, water, and some fruit to cool off while she went to change. Within a couple minutes, she came down the stairs in just panties and asked if he wanted to take a nice cool shower. He told me it was really hard to say no, but he declined only because he had been cheated on before and never wanted another man to feel that pain. Story 5. Taught martial arts, and a student's mom wanted to talk about private lessons for her and her son. So I was like, okay, but then she was like, oh, but can we meet at a Barnes & Noble's because I will be too busy to talk at the school. So I said fine. I got to Barnes and Noble and the mom was by herself, and we start talking and she says, "What do I think about older women?" And I said they are older. She asked if I wanted to go to her house, which I declined. She called the school I work for saying I asked her on a date and I was making sexual advances. Thankfully, I had the texts saved where she asked me to meet her. Story 6. I was painting a house once. Doing prep in the master bedroom, I ran into a vision board. Being Mexican, I never seen such a thing. I was flabbergasted. It was just pictures of couples kissing and words like romance, love, happiness. The owner of the house walked in the closet, saw me looking at her vision board, grabbed it, and flipped it over. Then for the next few HRS, she just followed me around the house, putting tape on spots that needed touch-ups and also being super flirty. At some point she even said, "Would you mind me on top?" She had pictures of her husband everywhere and cameras all over the house, so I knew if I did it, it was going to create issues for me. Next day I show up to the job. My boss pulls me aside and tells me that the husband was watching me work over the cameras and didn't like what he saw, therefore he didn't want me in his house anymore. Somehow my boss convinced him to let me return to finish the job, and it was so awkward in that house. I never felt so much sexual tension in my life. Story 7. I had a summer job in college selling textbooks, Bibles, and Bible accessories door to door in some suburbs on the other side of the country. I was 20. This girl answered the door. Now at this point I had been having a lot of success schmoozing, selling, and sometimes even flirting with the housewives and young moms, the target demographic. You make any kind of physical move on a wife and her mom though, all the neighbors will gossip, and you might as well pick up your bag and go to the next town. Still, it felt amazing and my ego was hugely inflated. When this girl answered the door though, it burst apart. I was floored. Beautiful. Absurdly so. Tightest little sleeping shorts. I swear she was a 10. I did my most stand-up comedy version of the pitch, which really was getting giggles. She went to a rival college a few hours from mine, and we talked shit back and forth. We spoke on her porch for like 20 minutes, and she said I should come to this block party thing on Saturday. Said it was totally lame, but that she'd tell people I was her friend and maybe I could sell some of them because their guard would be down. She blew me in her parents' den at like 11 a.m. Saturday morning, and we had sex late that night. And more. I basically didn't work for a week and a half. It was extra thrilling because we both perceived it as scandalous. It wasn't. And went way over the top with sneaking visits and clandestine excursions. We hooked up a few times over the next years and dated seriously after college for a year or two. It wasn't a great relationship, but I clung to that memory of her leaned against the door frame giggling, her getting me $500 commission, and her slurping my emission. Story 8. Don't know if this counts as I was just helping out a friend doing a painting job. When I was around 15, I started getting my hair cut by this really hot blonde woman in her mid-30s who always liked talking to me, gave me fashion advice, and always tried to give me tips on how to start presenting myself and my looks really good. All of it was really great advice, and I really appreciated her for helping me at the time. I got to know her a lot better over the years about having kids and small stuff about her life. Fast forward to when I was 19 and struggling a bit from moving out of my toxic parents' house going to community college. I was looking for odd jobs and side hustles to do in my spare time, and so I told her about it when I was getting a haircut. She mentioned that she wanted someone to paint some stuff from a kid's show on the walls of her kid's room and that she would pay me, and asked me to come by that weekend. I didn't really think it was odd at the time, or even when I showed up to do the job, as I spent the whole first day that Friday night drawing on the wall, doing tape work, and putting the first coat of paint on before having to leave as she has to pick up her kids. Then, on the second day of the job, I showed up early and I noticed her kids still were not there, so I asked about them. She said they were at their grandparents' house as it would be easier to help me work to get things done quickly. So I didn't think anything of it besides thinking it's great to get the help to make this easier, and we ended up talking all day and working without anything happening besides her telling me about her kids and about random stuff that we both liked. On that Sunday, I came back to finish the job early like the previous day, and she was the only one there again to help me out with the job. I randomly inquired an hour into working about if her husband was working overtime or something, as I realized that I had not seen him the whole time I was working there. Didn't think anything of what I said until she told me when we were just finishing up and cleaning of getting a divorce because he had cheated on her, which left me kind of embarrassed and apologetic for not knowing. Before I could say anything, she started telling me some of the details of the process she was going through, finding out that he had been cheating on her for almost their entire relationship with different women going all the way back to when they had just started dating in high school. She also apologized for making things awkward and was hoping I could understand her because I had told her almost 2 years ago about being cheated on by a girl in high school and that her soon-to-be ex-husband was her high school sweetheart. The only thing I could say was that I was really surprised anyone would do that to her, and I reassured her that she didn't make me feel awkward. We continued talking while we were finishing cleaning up, and she paid me for the work just as we were finished up, and then she asked me if I wanted to hang out for a while and offered to order some pizza to thank me again. Thought it was a good deal and figured she just wanted to talk some more. So I stayed and we did just that before she asked if I had a change of clothes so we wouldn't get paint everywhere. I did. Got the cloths from my car, and as I was going to her bathroom to get changed, she mentioned that I could take a shower too if I wanted. I thought for a second that it was kind of an odd offer, but dismissed it quickly to take the shower. We ate, hung out talking, and generally we're just having a nice time together hanging out when she excuses herself to use the bathroom just as we were starting a movie. Then she called out to me to help her for a minute with something from another room, and when I turned the corner of her hallway, she was right there in lingerie and immediately kissed me. I spent the rest of the day in her bedroom with her. We had a really great time, and we decided to keep things casual and fun as friends. We did that for almost 2 years until she ended up moving away to be closer to her family. Still think about her sometimes because she really got me through some tough times by just being there for me. Had similar offers over the years, but never took the offers as I didn't trust or really know the people offering. But she was really amazing, and I don't regret it at all. Story 9. I was starting my auto detailing business and was trying hard to make good impressions. During one of my first few jobs, the client's daughter came home from the gym and started harassing me immediately. She kept making comments like, "Damn, now that's a hard-working man right there, yum," and eyed me inappropriately. She brought me an ice-cold beer and cooled her cleavage with it before handing it to me. Kept walking around pretending to do stuff in the garage and front yard and would slap my ass every time she walked by. She wouldn't stop bothering me and told me how she had all this energy after the gym and needed to use it up somehow. When I was close to finishing, she started suggesting I come up and take a shower and she would give me a detail. I was stunned. I told her that was highly inappropriate. Even though the client is my future father-in-law, it still doesn't give me an excuse to fraternize. I ended up losing that argument. Story 10. I used to work for a big pest control company. We typically kept our same routes so people would have a familiar face before looking at every corner of your home. I decided that I wanted to get my license and start my own business. Somehow some of my regulars happened to hear about this and somehow got hold of my number. I obviously didn't give them this information as for a non-competition agreement forbade it. I had to wait 6 months before seeing these ex-regulars. After that 6 months was up, I gave them all a call back. I have 2 clients that are particular friendly. One of them baked me cookies to celebrate my return. The other one offered me her cookie. I was single at the time. Figured, hell, why not? Post-nut clarity struck hard on that one. That one act gave her so much damn power over me. I knew I'd be hearing from her again with some crazy shit holding this over my head. Sure enough, I got a call back from her after 2 days. I thought this was the end. Heart racing, brain running, anxiety rising. Already negotiating in my head thinking she was going to demand free pest control or something crazy. Nope. Infestation of ghost ants. I show up and there is no infestation. She comes on to me and I pulled away. Said, "We need to talk, just to get on the same page." Turns out she just wanted a no-strings-attached thing. That went on for about 6 months until she moved out of the area. Wanted to know if I'd still do her house, and her, 4 hours away. Had to turn that one down, lol. Story 11. I'm a woman, so this might not be a specific instance, but I have a story for you all. I'm a trucker that goes all over the place. I've met lots of men that have solicited me for sex, or even just coffee and a hangout. Truckers can be very lonely. Anyway, I was sitting at a shopper getting loaded one afternoon when some regular workers were doing something around the warehouse. I don't really ask and usually just stay out of their way. This one guy, good looking I won't lie, came up, jumped up on my truck steps and stuck his head in the window. It was 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so I had the windows down. He complimented my cat, saying that he knew a nice pussy when he saw one, and then proceeded to put his hand on my leg and asked me to go around the corner of the building in broad daylight to have some fun. I had never been propositioned like that before and laughed, removed his hand from my leg, and told him no thanks. I didn't know who he was, had no idea if he had a girlfriend or anything else, and really didn't feel like getting caught up in whatever drama he was representing.